Chapter 47 Xiao Ao. At the same time that the ball of light began to shatter, the flames that had been peaceful for many days suddenly soared into the sky, and a rain of fire fell from the sky. When the rain of fire touched the light, it instantly turned into tiny fire threads that were as tiny as a strand of hair. The fire threads were like maggots stuck to the light and continuously merged into it, as if they were replenishing energy for the light. The high temperature of the fiery rain caused Xiao Yan, who was not far away, to feel a slight pain on his skin. After being tempered by the fierce aura for a few days, Xiao Yan's body had become even stronger. However, under the dense fiery rain, he still felt a burning pain. From this, it could be seen how fierce the Thousand Leaves ancient monarch fire was. The rain of fire became bigger and bigger, and in the end, it turned into a heavy rain. It carried a great amount of power and smashed into the seemingly weak light. The light trembled slightly, and then it returned to normal, absorbing all the surrounding flames. Very quickly, the fire cloud that had been accumulating for many days in the sky had been completely consumed. Although the cracks on the light had increased a lot, the creature inside still did not show any signs of breaking out of its body. After absorbing all of the energy from the brown flame, the light trembled slightly, and a steady flow of scarlet flame flowed out from the surface of the flame, turning into pure fire sources that poured into the light. Xiao Yan's expression suddenly changed as he looked at the familiar scarlet-red flame. Wasn't this his chaos great monarch flame? It was actually being absorbed by that strange light. As the energy gradually saturated, the cracks on the light became bigger and bigger. When the fragments of light fell, it caused the space to become bigger and bigger. A visible ripple spread out, and the power caused Xiao Yan to secretly click his tongue. Boom! After the last fragment fell, a loud sound that shook the heavens and split the earth suddenly erupted from within the light. After which, an indescribable aura spread out. At the same time, endless flames soared into the sky and hung upside down, forming a huge fire curtain that was a few hundred meters in size. While Xiao Yan was trembling because of this aura, a dragon's roar that resounded through the heavens and the earth suddenly sounded. Under the dragon's roar, everything seemed to be dead. The surging sea of fire stopped roaring, and the terrifying aura that swept across the world was instantly extinguished. Only the dragon's roar echoed within the barrier. At the instant the dragon's roar rang out, the enormous curtain of fire instantly broke apart. A figure leapt out from the light, riding on the power of the flames. It flew straight into the air. Xiao Yan looked at the sky in shock. The figure was wrapped in flames. He couldn't see it clearly, but the moment it appeared, a mountain-sized ancient dragon seemed to have soared into the sky as well, dissipating along with the dragon's roar. The silhouette of the colossal dragon turned into flames that filled the sky and poured into that figure. The terrifying key that filled the sky vanished along with it. Xiao Yan had also recovered from his suppressed state. Just as he was about to adjust his condition, an explosion suddenly sounded in the sky. After that, a stream of fire wrapped around the figure and arrived in front of Xiao Yan in an instant. The flame dispersed and Xiao Yan looked at the mysterious figure that was slowly revealing his true face. A trace of curiosity and excitement quietly climbed into his eyes. After thinking for a few days, Xiao Yan was now more or less sure that the huge egg had undergone some unusual changes. Xiao Yan wasn't sure about this, but now, when he saw the figure clearly, Xiao Yan couldn't help but be startled. What appeared in front of him wasn't a ferocious and domineering fire dragon, nor a ferocious-looking primitive alien creature. It was a fire horse. Its height wasn't as high as Xiao Yan's shoulder, and its two big eyes were blinking. Its body was well proportioned, and it emitted a scorching spiritual energy. His ponytail was surrounded by flames, and when he swung it, there was a burning sound. His forelegs were full of muscles and he looked extremely strong. Overall, it felt very powerful. However, when Xiao Yan saw that pair of big round eyes, he was a little speechless. Originally, it was pretty good. However, this pair of eyes had completely destroyed the power of the whole body. Awoo! Awoo! When the little flaming horse saw Xiao Yan, it called out in a friendly manner. Its four hooves stepped on the ground one after another, and streams of flames swept up. When he heard this soft cry, Xiao Yan instantly smiled bitterly and shook his head. What exactly is this thing? Just as Xiao Yan was feeling helpless, a strange sound suddenly came into his ears. It was as if the heaven and earth were about to split apart. A wave of shaking kept coming. Before Xiao Yan could react, he heard a frightened cry from the little fire horse. Then, it turned into a scarlet color under Xiaoyan's shocked expression, and drilled into Xiaoyan's body like a bolt of lightning. What's going on? An endless amount of doubts surged in Xiaoyan's heart. They were like layers of waves that continuously shocked his mind. How could the little fire horse enter his body? Before Xiao Yan could recover from his shock, he heard a rumbling sound. Xiaoyan's vision suddenly turned black. When he opened his eyes again, the scene of the square slowly appeared in front of him. Did it work? While Xiao Yan was still in a daze, Yi Tianchen's familiar voice entered his ears. Without waiting for Xiao Yan to reply, Yi Tianchen looked at the black and golden characters on the former's chest and smiled. The light is circulating, and it is emitting an ancient aura. It seems that it is almost perfect. Xiao Yan smiled bitterly and said, "You always don't know what kind of suffering this brat has suffered. It's hard to imagine what kind of suffering he will suffer." Yi Tianchen scolded with a smile on his face. "That's enough. The 8 powers is the secret arts that has become famous in the immemorial period. How many days of pampered children have they spent their entire lives trying to obtain it? You still think it's too difficult?" Xiao Yan chuckled. He couldn't help but gently touch the words on his chest. His heart was also filled with endless excitement. In the future, this thing could also become one of his biggest trump cards. It had become. What about that little thing? Yi Tianchen looked around Xiao Yan and suddenly asked. Hearing this, Xiao Yan was stunned for a moment and immediately understood. He asked doubtfully, "Elder Yi, what is that flaming horse? Isn't there a fire dragon in the huge egg? Also, how could it enter my body?" Yi Tianchen heard Xiao Yan's series of questions and chuckled. "So that little guy has already entered your body. Try to summon it out." Seeing Xiao Yan staring at him in a daze, Yi Tianchen smiled helplessly. Pointing at the former's body, he said in a gentle voice, "Before, I asked you to pour the Chaos Great Monarch flame into that ball of light. I had you engrave your seal on that little fellow before it had formed a physical body and also connected it to your Chaos Great Monarch flame. In the future, he would be able to freely enter and exit the Chaos Great Monarch flame. It will also be able to enter your body along with it." Yi Tianchen looked at Xiao Yan, who was a little stunned, and let out a light sigh. "I know you have a lot of questions. Actually, when you rescued the little dragon from the underground barrier, its injuries are powerful and original. After entering my illusion realm, its origin couldn't be maintained either. In order to prevent it from dying, there's only one path left for reincarnation. Reincarnation is the unique ability of the little dragon's bloodline. Abandoning all of the memories and strength in this life, turning into an egg. It can be reincarnated after being guided by 2 kinds of monarch flames." Yi Tianchen looked up at the sky, his tone extremely calm. However, Xiao Yan could hear a trace of reluctance and disappointment from it, and his heart immediately became somewhat heavy. Indeed, he had accompanied him for many years. His partner, who was connected to him through life and death, was forced to reincarnate, and he could only watch helplessly. There was no other way. That kind of pain, Xiao Yan could understand it as well. This illusion realm, my time is almost negligible. After the little dragon reincarnated, its strength was too weak, and its origin was extremely weak. It needed protection, and you also had the Chaos Great Monarch flame. Therefore, I made you the master of that little guy." When he heard this, Xiao Yan's heart began to pound violently. Without any time to think, he subconsciously, with a slight thought, the Chaos Great Monarch flame emerged from his body. The flame changed slightly and a lively little fire horse leapt out. The little horse snorted twice. When it saw Xiao Yan, it excitedly cried out a few times. Like a whirlwind, it instantly arrived beside Xiao Yan and used its big head to intimately rub against the former's body. Sensing the colt's warm attitude towards him, Xiao Yan could not help but smile. He placed his hand on the latter's big head and gently stroked it. Immediately, a flame jumped out, as if it had no warmth at all, and then suddenly disappeared. Being intimately touched by Xiao Yan, the pony couldn't help but happily ride its 4 hooves. It kept snorting and shooting out flames. At the same time, it let out cheerful cries. Looking at the pony acting spoiled in Xiao Yan's arms, the corner of Yi Tianchen's mouth revealed a trace of a smile. "Little dragon, although you lost all your memories and powerful strength from your past life, you survived in another way. Fortunately, you didn't have to die with me soon. You must live well. After playing with the fire stallion for a while, Xiaoyan suddenly raised his head and said with sincerity in his eyes, "Thank you, Elder Yi. I will not let down your reputation. I will definitely make it famous throughout the world." Xiaoyan patted the pony's head as he spoke. Yi Tianqian was slightly stunned when he heard that. He laughed lightly and nodded. "Good, haha. I did not expect to hear such bold words before I died." As he spoke, a warm feeling unconsciously surged into Yi Tianqian's heart, spreading out waves of warmth. "Since the little dragon has already recognized you as its master, then you can name it. After all, the little dragon's name doesn't match its current image." Yi Tianqian then looked at the little red pony, his eyes filled with satisfaction. Speaking of the name, Xiaoyan suddenly felt his head hurt. In an instant, many names that he thought were domineering flashed across his mind, and his eyes became clear. Xiaoyan's mouth twitched. He glanced at the flame on the horse's body and suddenly had an idea. He said without hesitation, "The fire spirit of the chaos great monarch flame is called the Xiaoyi. You just follow the order. Call it the Xiaoao." Yi Tianqian could not help but laugh. "What logic is this? Don't tell me there's someone called Mo." Xiaoyan laughed when he heard that. "Kid, I hope so." Yi Tianqian shook his head, not knowing whether to laugh or cry, but he could not help but sigh in his heart. Given this little guy's character, how could he call him such a friendly name? Only those extremely powerful spiritual objects could be addressed in such a way. When he thought of this, Yi Tianqian could not help but look at the vigorous words on Xiaoyan's chest. A crazy thought suddenly flashed through his mind. If this little guy can cultivate the legendary power spirit. Thinking of this, even Yi Tianqian couldn't help but be shocked by his own idea. Power spirit couldn't be tolerated in this world. There were only a few times since the ancient times that the power spirit was born. It caused the heaven and earth to shake. Under the countless killing and divine punishment, it seemed to have turned into ashes. Although it could increase one's strength, it could make the heaven and earth furious. As if it understood Xiaoyan's words, the little horse cheerfully called out a few times. It quickly circled around Xiaoyan, and the sound of flames piercing through the air could be heard without an end. Yi Tianqian recovered from his deep thoughts and looked at Xiaoyan, who was about to speak. Suddenly, his gaze swept across the flames surrounding the Xiaoao and stared at it for a while. Yi Tianqian suddenly said anxiously, "Little guy, the chaos great monarch flame might explode during this period of time. You will definitely be affected when you devour the 3,000 lightning monarch flames. Make the best use of this period of time to advance to the fifth path of the sovereign realm. Perhaps, your success rate will be higher." Chapter end.